scale of the government's initiative will match the challenges of our time.
King Charles didn't just sign a document. If what unfolded behind those palace walls is true, he may have detonated the biggest royal family bombshell in decades with nothing more than a pen stroke made after midnight. Think about that for a second. A king reportedly collapsing without warning. Doctors rushing through hidden corridors. Security grabbing phones before anyone could capture a single image. Then, while the rest of Buckingham Palace slept, King Charles allegedly made one decision so explosive that it left Queen Camilla outside the room, Prince William completely unaware, and Catherine suddenly standing at the center of a royal storm she never publicly asked for. If this was simply routine succession planning, then why did it happen like a secret operation in the dead of night? Everything reportedly began during what should have been an ordinary reception inside Buckingham Palace. Foreign dignitaries were gathered, cameras had been flashing, conversations were flowing. Then, without warning, King Charles allegedly collapsed in front of everyone. Suddenly, the elegant atmosphere disappeared. Palace security reportedly reacted with astonishing speed, removing phones, clearing rooms, pushing guests through side exits, and sealing off the area before anyone could fully understand what had happened. That alone raised questions. If everything was under control, why the desperate scramble to control every possible witness? Doctors were reportedly rushed into private royal chambers through entrances few people even knew existed. Hours passed. Silence filled the palace. Nobody outside those walls knew what was happening. No detailed explanation followed, just carefully crafted statements and calm public appearances designed to reassure everyone that things were improving. But according to reports surrounding that night, the reality behind closed doors was dramatically different. Publicly, King Charles later suggested that his treatment could eventually be reduced. Those words sounded hopeful. They encouraged people to believe the crisis was easing. Yet behind palace doors, another version of events was allegedly unfolding. Private conversations reportedly painted a far darker picture. Medical developments were said to be moving faster than expected. Time suddenly became the one thing nobody could promise. That contradiction changes everything, because if King Charles truly believed the clock had begun moving faster than anyone outside his inner circle realized, then every decision afterwards suddenly looks completely different. It wasn't about tomorrow anymore. It was about protecting what he believed might outlive him. His private secretary reportedly urged him to wait until morning. King Charles reportedly refused. The royal solicitor was allegedly summoned after midnight. Instead of months of consultation, reviews, and ceremonial procedures, everything reportedly happened within hours. One room, one document, one signature. One king apparently determined that nobody, not even his closest family members, would interfere. And then comes the detail that refuses to disappear. Before signing, King Charles was reportedly asked not once but twice whether Queen Camilla or Prince William should be present. Twice, he reportedly answered no. Think about that. This wasn't confusion. It wasn't panic. He had every opportunity to invite either one of them into the room. Instead, according to the account, both remained outside while one of the most important decisions connected to the crown allegedly unfolded behind closed doors. Why? Was it simply privacy? Or was King Charles protecting the decision itself? Because when powerful people deliberately exclude the very individuals expected to stand beside them, silence begins speaking louder than words. Then came the signature. According to those present, King Charles finalized an emergency order transferring sole guardianship of the crown jewels to Catherine. When the document was complete, he reportedly looked down and quietly said only 3 words: "It is done." No celebration, no visible relief. Just a sentence carrying the weight of something that may have been building for years. Legally, the king's authority under the royal prerogative gives the reigning monarch extraordinary powers regarding matters directly connected to the crown. That isn't the controversial part. The controversy is the timing. Decisions involving symbols as significant as the crown jewels are normally associated with lengthy planning, careful consultation, and gradual preparation. Yet this reportedly happened in one extraordinary night while almost everyone inside the palace remained unaware. That speed alone has fueled endless speculation, because when someone suddenly compresses years of planning into a matter of hours, observers naturally wonder what invisible deadline forced the decision. And history only deepens the mystery. The crown jewels have survived destruction, political upheaval, theft, revolutions, and centuries of uncertainty. They were once dismantled, later rebuilt, nearly stolen from the Tower of London, and protected through wars that reshaped nations. Generation after generation treated them as symbols larger than any individual monarch. Now, according to this account, their future reportedly shifted because one exhausted king believed waiting until sunrise was no longer an option. But while King Charles sat with the consequences of that signature, another explosion was already beginning elsewhere inside the palace. Queen Camilla reportedly didn't hear about the order from her husband. She allegedly learned about it from palace staff. Imagine discovering that one of the most significant decisions affecting your position inside the royal family had already been completed, without you even being in the room. According to those accounts, Camilla immediately headed toward Charles's study. What happened next would reportedly expose emotions the palace had spent years keeping hidden. Voices were raised. Long-buried frustrations reportedly surfaced. Years of quiet resentment suddenly collided with one midnight signature. And if that confrontation truly unfolded the way insiders describe it, then the document King Charles signed may have changed far more than the future of the crown jewels. It may have permanently changed the future of his own family. If Queen Camilla believed the midnight decision was the end of the story, she was reportedly mistaken because the real shock had only begun. According to accounts circulating around the palace, she confronted King Charles with years of bottled-up frustration, allegedly accusing him of making her invisible while she was still standing beside him as his wife. But what stunned people wasn't the confrontation itself. It was the response reportedly attributed to Charles. Instead of softening the moment or trying to calm the situation, he allegedly reminded her that the crown was never something a wife truly owns, only something temporarily entrusted to her while the monarch lives. Those words, if accurately remembered, cut deeper than any public statement ever could. In one sentence, decades of royal appearances, ceremonies, photographs, and carefully managed smiles suddenly looked painfully fragile. Camilla reportedly left carrying not just disappointment, but the realization that another woman, Catherine, had been placed at the center of a royal legacy she could never permanently claim. Yet perhaps the biggest twist is that Catherine herself reportedly never wanted the responsibility to arrive this way. According to palace accounts, she urged King Charles to wait, asking him to delay such a dramatic move until the family had time to process everything together. But Charles allegedly refused, convinced that time was no longer a luxury he possessed. That refusal says almost as much as the document itself. It suggests a man acting under pressure that nobody outside his closest circle fully understood. Catherine, already having faced enormous personal challenges in recent years, suddenly found herself carrying the symbolic weight of centuries of royal history. These were never simply beautiful jewels locked behind glass. They represented coronations, wars, political crises, revolutions, and an institution that has survived repeated attempts to erase it entirely. Every crown, every diamond, every historic piece carried its own story. And now, according to the reported order, Catherine stood at the center of protecting all of it. The treasures themselves only add another layer of controversy. The imperial state crown, St. Edward's crown, the famous Cullinan diamonds, and the Koh-i-Noor have all remained subjects of admiration, debate, and international criticism for generations. Some governments continue questioning the historical circumstances surrounding particular jewels, while historians regularly revisit the complicated stories attached to them. That means Catherine's reported guardianship, if accurate, reaches far beyond royal fashion or ceremonial appearances. It places her at the center of discussions involving history, diplomacy, national identity, and unresolved debates stretching back centuries. Suddenly, the sparkling display seen during state occasions begins looking less like luxury and more like an enormous political responsibility wrapped in velvet and gold. What has fueled even more speculation is how quietly everything reportedly unfolded. When William and Catherine previously received additional royal responsibilities, the palace publicly celebrated those announcements with statements, photographs, and official explanations. This time, according to the narrative surrounding these events, there was no comparable fanfare, no triumphant press conference, no detailed briefing connecting the reported legal changes to Charles's health, only silence. Inside royal circles, silence often becomes its own language, encouraging observers to search for meaning in what isn't said instead of what is. Every quiet announcement, every unexplained legal step, every carefully chosen phrase has encouraged people to wonder whether King Charles was simply preparing responsibly for the future or racing against a private deadline known only to a handful of trusted advisors. Then another possibility reportedly emerged behind behind palace walls. According to discussions attributed to people familiar with internal legal conversations, at least one senior advisor allegedly considered whether Queen Camilla, as Charles's surviving wife, might one day challenge aspects of this reported arrangement after his death. Whether such speculation ever becomes reality remains entirely uncertain, but even the existence of those conversations reportedly illustrates how extraordinary the situation appeared to those closest to it. If true, the battle would no longer concern only family emotions. It could evolve into a legal struggle involving royal prerogative, constitutional tradition, and questions British courts have rarely, if ever, been asked to confront. As public appearances continued, every smile, every carefully choreographed ceremony, and every appearance by King Charles, Queen Camilla, Prince William, and Catherine inevitably invited fresh speculation. Supporters searched for reassurance while critics searched for hidden signals. Ordinary gestures suddenly carried extraordinary meaning, and perhaps that's what makes this entire story so compelling. Whether viewed as careful succession planning or as evidence of deeper tensions behind palace doors, the unanswered questions continue lingering. History rarely announces its biggest turning points with flashing lights. Sometimes it arrives quietly, inside a signed document, behind a closed door, while the world outside remains completely unaware that another chapter may already have begun. Until every detail is fully understood, the mystery surrounding King Charles, Catherine, Queen Camilla, Prince William, and the future of the crown will almost certainly continue inviting questions long after the ink on that reported midnight signature has dried.